chose to do my presentation on Ed Haley because of the two people I favored Ed's fiddle playing more than Doc Roberts. I like Doc Roberts a lot, but I feel like I have a personal connection with Ed Haley as far as like fiddle playing goes, because one of his quotes, which I'll later come back to, he says, "I like to flavor things up and so no one will know what I'm gonna play." And that's something that I aspire to do whenever I play songs. I aspire to change up the melody like here and there, not so that it's totally unrecognizable, but so that it's different every time. That's definitely something that I do, and I thought that that was amazing that he does the same thing, or did. Okay, so he was born in Logan County, West Virginia, Harts Creek, which I found out 1883. So he's a little bit older than the oldest guy from your group, the Magic City group. He was blinded by measles as a baby when he was 3. Got measles, and died of a heart attack in Ashland, Kentucky, February 4th, 1951. But he died, he was blinded at 3 according to Parkersburg Landing, which was his first recording that he did. Okay, so the most interesting thing about Ed Haley is he never recorded commercially. All of his recordings were made at home in his living room with his son Ralph. Which I figured out that Ralph served in the Signal Corps in the war, and he knew how or got a hold of a homemade disc cutter by Wilcox Gay Tape. That's what it's called. When Ralph died, the recordings were distributed amongst 5 remaining children, and I thought that was pretty cool that he had 6 children being, another thing is that 106 sides are presently accounted for, and that is approximated to be only a third of the total original recordings. To Humphrey's Jig, which is off of the first volume that was released by Rounder, 1975. She played mandolin and accordion. I didn't put that in there, but she played accordion and accompanied him on their recordings. And so, according to the census, he was raised by his maternal grandfather. His mom died of illness in 1892. His dad was killed by a mob along with a man named Green McCoy. But it was rumored that his mom died in an altercation with the Hatfield and McCoys feud, which I thought that was a cool, interesting fact. He received no formal schooling, ate a bunch of onions, and bathed in a nearby stream. It's a quote off of AppalachianHistory.net, which is a great source. The other thing is him and his wife would travel around with one of their children, whichever one they decided to take along. It wasn't specific in that. And he would compete in several small fiddle contests in small towns throughout West Virginia and Kentucky, but he disliked the razzmatazz of public competition, which is kind of the same way that I feel about it. I don't really compete in that many fiddle contests. Oh, that's cool. Now listen to another one called Cumberland Gap, and I thought this was really interesting, and it just goes back to the fact that I'm a bluegrass player, and when I hear Cumberland Gap, I'm expecting to hear this, and then when you're digging into old time, it's like, oh wow, this is so different. It's really neat. This comes straight out of a book called Country Music Originals, Legends and the Lost by Tony Russell. They have a specific section on him. Clark Kessinger, which was a later fiddle player, he used to play similar to, he would try to mimic Ed Haley. He said that he was a great fiddler, thought he was the best. Fiddling. In the book, his fiddling was referred to as grand old style. Many of Haley's tunes are rare and fascinating, which I agree with. But even common ones like Green Mountain Polka or Flop-Eared Mule are complex versions, often with unfamiliar parts or unusual keys, which is also something I discovered. I have Spotify, and I dug up on him, and a lot of the recordings are super scratchy, and I think it has to do with the home recording, disc recording cutter. But they are really obscure kind of tunes. And then the quote that I told you all earlier, I like to flavor up the tune so that nobody in the world could tell what I'm playing. John Hartford said that it was highly sophisticated, handwritten script, the bows of the bow so elegant and deeply rooted in the Scotch-Irish experience. And I found this picture online. I thought that was really neat. It's like a sketch of how he used to hold the bow, which is not how I hold the bow, but it's nice. I've tried it before. It's pretty cool. And we have one more recording to listen to. This is Great Eagle, which the second volume was named after. Some more notes out of the book of how he got hold of these tunes and what they refer to, and I thought that was really interesting. Often commemorated events and places embodied local history and music. Brushy Forks of Johns Creek refers to a Civil War battle site. Tunes like Humphrey's Jig, which we listened to earlier, trace back through many adaptions and name changes, which is a big thing I see between old-time bluegrass. Removes us from Appalachia to the 18th century Britain, and while other strains descend from minstrel stage or African American tradition. And when was that? Closing tidbits. I thought this was interesting. He was a really homey kind of guy. He loved to play for people. it was never like a job to him. He really enjoyed it thoroughly. Which that's not in 10 minutes, but I'll just kind of read you some of these quotes straight from the book. Before the Great Depression, he was paid $20 a day, which is good for back then. And they managed to put all 6 of their children through school and maintain a stable home. I thought it was a cool. This is by Mark Wilson and Guthrie Toomey. They wrote like the liner notes for his album, and they had great nerds would often play continuously all night without even pausing between sets. If someone gave him $1 to play a special tune, he might play it for 10 minutes or more. I thought that was an interesting tidbit because 10 minutes to play a fiddle song is, maybe to old time people it's not much, but for me it's like, oh man, I'm gonna play this again, like keep doing the same thing over and over again. But I'm sure he made it interesting. And that's Ed Haley. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. You know, that Salt River is where Salt Creek comes from.
Yeah.